A thread from Carlos Oswita. Let's debunk another accusation made by leftists against Donald Trump. This one takes exactly 1 second to disprove. But leftists believe this crap because so many are insane. If social distancing had been started 1 week earlier, we could have saved 36,000 people. Well, what's the purpose of social distancing? To slow the spread of COVID-19. Ergo, the study is entirely bogus. This is the equivalent of saying we can prevent 10,000 gun deaths per year by making it impossible for bullets to fly through the air. What we're seeing is that leftists are impervious to reality. Dr. Fauci and Dr. Birx have been painstaking in their explanations. 1. A total lack of mitigation would have cost the lives of hundreds of thousands or even millions. That can't be argued. We've lost almost 100,000 in 3 months despite draconian mitigation efforts. And 2. Mitigation is intended to slow the spread of COVID-19 so that our medical system would not collapse. It can't be argued that without mitigation, our medical system would have sailed through. If you think that, it means you don't know anything about this crisis. Admitting, diagnosing, and treating one patient required a massive consumption of personal protective equipment, PPE. And if the patient died, even more PPE was used up. Patient requiring medical ventilation were put in medically induced comas, some for as long as 6 weeks. Each such patient required specialist care every single second of those 6 weeks. Intensive care units, ICUs, had a massive burnout rate even before COVID-19. Almost everything you're hearing now is garbage. Trump faced what Frederick Forsyth calls a devil's alternative. No matter what choice you make, people will die. There were no good alternatives. But Trump and Mike Pence and their teams didn't break down. They were emotionally prepared for this kind of horror. The people now saying that the lockdowns were a mistake are the same ones demanding them 3 months ago. I can't even begin to express my disgust. In a crisis, we see everybody's true character. There are too many people to identify, but I would like to mention Dr. Ben Carson. I used to have a terror of flying. If Dr. Carson were my seatmate in a storm, I would have been fine. With so much craziness and venom and dishonesty around us, Dr. Carson is an island of calm. Calmness is strength. Optimism is strength. Here's one of the stupidest slogans ever invented. Question everything. How ridiculous. What if I told you that Bernhard Redemann got there before André Lafargue? Can you question it? No, because you don't know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about modern small unit assault and infiltration tactics. Redemann was German and Lafargue was French, but you can't question things unless you have factual knowledge on the subject. A knee-jerk rejection of all statements is not a form of thinking. People have been told that disbelieving absolutely everything is a sign of intellectual superiority. No, it's a sign of intellectual laziness. The smart person says, I don't know, let me look into it. Sometimes you'll never know. I actually hate it when people link me to something and say, thoughts? You're not paying me to analyze something for you. How about you analyze it first? I guarantee that you'll find an answer. Sometimes the answer is, I have no idea. You don't have to have an opinion on everything. Most people are in no position to comment on Trump's response to COVID-19. As a result, we're hearing full-throated, proud moronism. People wanted a painless solution. There wasn't one. No matter what choices were made, lots of people were going to die. The only people who could have prevented this are the Chinese. But the communist Chinese place no value on human life. Well, now they get to pay the butcher's bill. One of my favorite stories is Leiningen versus the Ants by Carl Stevenson. The whole thing is brilliant on every level, and it has one of my favorite lines ever. And so imprisoned between water and fire, They had been delivered into the annihilation that was their God. The Communist Chinese worship annihilation. They have been delivered into the arms of their God. It is not possible for them to come back from this, and nobody deserves it more. Did you know that during the Cultural Revolution, the Communist Chinese set up human meat stands so that good citizens could cannibalize the people who had once dared to think for themselves? Mao Zedong personally raped over 40,000 young girls. All were murdered afterward. He didn't bathe for over half a century, and now the Communist Chinese own our press. Imagine selling your soul to mass rapist cannibals who don't bathe. Mike Pompeo has been saying some pretty amazing things. Essentially, he's admitting that the world underestimated the Communist Chinese dedication to savagery and perversity. Again, the only people who could have prevented the deaths caused by COVID-19 are the Communist Chinese. Blaming Trump is an obscenity. With each obscene act, the Democrats and the press, sorry for repeating myself, make Trump's responses that much more ruthless. This is what I'm saying about people not being in a position to express opinions. Trump has virtually replaced the FBI leadership. This has never happened before. The FBI had too much dirt on politicians. Guess who had no dirt on him? Nothing's happening. Shut up, idiot. Dope. Pinhead. Nitwit. Shut up. Don't elect a president and then tell him that you yourself know how to do his job better than he does. You don't. I myself sure as hell don't. That's why I delegated politics to Trump. Doing so freed me up to ignore most of what's happening. True delegation is letting the other person handle it. And believe me, we can't even begin to imagine what Trump is doing under the radar.